It's Wednesday, the middle of the week. November is slowly crawling and the elections are inching closer by the minute. This is your election headquarters, and right now it's the most interactive 30 minutes on TV in Ghana. That's right, it's Joy News Interactive here on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Also live on the DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. So what's happening this morning in Accra, Ghana, and throughout the world? Have you heard that Kevin Prince Boateng is actually considering a call up to the Black Stars? Heard about it? Social media has been buzzing with it. Plus, do you think journalists should be given special protection during the coverage of the elections and also during the regular pursuing of their duties? Let us know as we celebrate the International Day Against Impunity of Journalists. And you can start sending us your messages and comments via our social media handles. WhatsApp is 0560800000, and on Facebook and Twitter it's Joy News on TV and JN Interactive GH. Now, today is a day for journalists, and like every other profession, journalists should be celebrated. But sometimes we're not quite celebrated for our works because our profession is such that we're not really for any party. We're either against the establishment or we're against the public. So never quite friends with any party. That being said, today is a day that's been set aside to speak about how to end impunity against journalists. Now, I've had some colleagues of mine right here at Joy News who have had to suffer assault during their work. People like Ifia Pukwa, who's otherwise known as the Vim Lady, Latif Idris, even my producer Derek Ekosam have all suffered from mob attacks whilst covering some stories. Now, one of my colleagues who also has a very touching, heart-rending story about an assault he suffered in 2012 will also be joining us. But he's been living with the effects of the assault he suffered for the past 4 years. He'll be joining us shortly to share his experiences. But we had to ask and find out from you on the streets of Accra, what do you think? Do you think journalists should be given special protection? Or do you think perhaps it's a lot of hullabaloo about nothing? Take a look.
Journalists really need special protections to work. One, you consider the nature of their job. They are the voices of the voiceless. They speak for people who do not have the voice to speak. So because of this, they work under very risky conditions. Some really have to travel very far, be in the night, go undercover like Arim Yawanas. So with this kind of people, they need special protection to work freely in order to do their work efficiently.
You look at how they work, taking the investigative journalism into consideration. They expose certain hidden truths that people don't know, especially the public. And when these truths are exposed, people who are victims, they get peeved. So they target them. Because of that, journalists surely must be protected just because of their work that they do.
They should be given special protection because I think that they are the main mouthpiece of both the laymen and the elites in this country, so they should be given protection. Mostly, I think when something should happen, when we look at most of the African countries, if something should happen, it starts from journalism, the media for that matter. It starts from the media. And mostly the politicians always, I think if something should happen, they use the journalists to cause problems. So I think they should be given special protection in this coming election.
Yes, you are being attacked because you are not speaking the truth. If the journalists are truthful, I don't know why they should be afraid of themselves.
Of course, yes.
Why?
Yeah, because they spread whatever is going on around, isn't it? So they should be given the opportunity to say whatever is in their mind or whatever they know.
So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Some agreeing that yes, journalists should be given protection, and we have some also saying that, well, if they were, honest and diligent and worked with integrity, then they have no need to fear being attacked or assaulted during the course of their duties. I've been joined by my colleague Emmanuel Ante, who 4 years ago was actually the victim of one such assault right here in Accra. It was in Accra, yes, here in Accra during the election season, and he's going to be sharing with us his story, what happens to him. Ima, okay, we work together, and we both produce a program here on Joy the Pulse, but I haven't worked with you for the past 3 or 4 months, and it's because of the injury. Can you please share with us exactly what happened to you that day in 2012?
Well, let me just start by saying I remember it, and I just feel so sad. It was just after Afarijan has announced the results of the 2012 elections. And as you know, multimedia, we pride ourselves with giving good election coverage, and we did that. And as a result, we were able to give our audience the results, not the certified results, but the provisional, and we're able to call who was going to win and all that. And the Electoral Commission, just right after that, also called the election for the NDC, Professor John Evans-Atta Mills. And the opposition at the time, or the incumbents at the time, that's the NPP, supporters did not understand, and they didn't agree with. So there were some skirmishes here and there. We were out in town trying to cover everything. I first went to the national headquarters, where we were informed that people had thronged there with cutlasses. They were wielding arms, and so we went there to cover what was going on there. And then just all of us, by the time we got there, we got down with my cameraman. It was Bright Champon, who is left us now. He was the cameraman at the time. And then the people started chasing us with cutlasses and other arms that I don't know about. It was the intervention of the police that were able to escape. And so for the camera guy, Bright, he decided to come to the office with what we've got, and he decided to go home. He decided not to go to Circle. I said, when we got to Circle, I realized that there was a mammoth crowd there. Yeah. And I said, oh no, we can't just leave it like that. And we were giving iPhones at the time. So I went there with the iPhone just to try to take shots of what happened. I was not branded because I knew how the situation was at the time. So I was not branded, just went there with the iPhone. And then all of a sudden in the crowd, somebody shouted, oh, I know this guy, he's from Multimedia, Oh my goodness. Because before I could say Jack, they had pounced on me, hitting me with all sorts of objects that I did not even see what it was. Hitting me at the back, my head, every part of my body, but my back suffered a lot. Fortunately for me, a taxi driver I call him an angel because I don't know him. I have never seen him since then. He just dropped right in the middle of the road, pulled me into his car, and then just sped off. Dropped me here, just at the gate here. Oh my, wow. And I took 3 steps. He called someone to help me walk in. Somebody just came to help me in. After 3 steps, I said, no, I had to take him in to show him to my bosses. Yeah, to see your condition. Who saved me. Wow. When I turned, I couldn't see him anymore. So he had left. As you call him your angel, he brought you, took you to the relevant management, and then he turned around and he went about his business. Wow. Exactly. Okay. And since then, things have never been the same for me. For you again. All right. It keeps recurring time after time, and this time you just said right from the beginning that for about 3 months now you've not seen me. Yeah, I had a recurrence of my back injury that I sustained in 2012 as a result, and at a point I couldn't even sit down. I was lying down all this while. I had to go to somewhere. Emmanuel, just give us a minute. We have the Executive Director of Media Foundation for West Africa Online, so we'll get back to your story shortly. Mr. Brima, good morning. Mr. Suleiman Brima, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us on Joy News Interactive. Now, today being the International Day for Impunity Against Journalists, I want to find out from you. You've already started a petition calling for the case against the Gambian journalists who were tortured and killed for the relevant authorities to be brought to justice. But meanwhile, here in Ghana, we're still having cases of journalists being assaulted on the job. So I wanted to find out, what is the Media Foundation for West Africa doing for journalists at home at the moment?
Well, first of all, let me say that the Media Foundation for West Africa, as the name suggests, is a regional organization, regional in the sense of West Africa. And so even though we are based here in Ghana, our work focuses on all the 16 countries in the region. And in all these countries, there are issues that affect journalists. There are issues that, affect press freedom. And there are issues of impunity.
Mr. Brahma, if you could just raise your voice a little, the line is breaking.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Now it's better.
Okay, so what I said is that because we are a regional organization, in the sense of West Africa, our work focuses on all the countries in the region. And when it comes to issues of impunity, of course, every impunity needs to be fought. But there are degrees in them. You just made a reference to the situation of Gambian journalists. One of them, two of them actually killed, and one who was severely tortured, as you could see from the photos that were shared. And that is why we took the Gambian government to court on behalf of these journalists, and the court delivered its judgment in favor of the journalists, but the Gambian government for 5 to 6 years now has refused to comply with the judgment, and that is why we are filing the contempt suit. Now, you are right that here in Ghana there are issues that need to be dealt with, but as I said, there are gravities of violation, and the gravity of violation determines what the response from an organization like us will be. Now, I should also say that elsewhere around the region, journalists defend themselves better than it is here in Ghana, because here in Ghana, you have journalists who've run into trouble, and the media or colleague journalists don't see it as a problem. So even as organizations like us will pick it up, it becomes like a fight that we are doing, and therefore we keep hearing the question about what can the Media Foundation do for journalists. And I think that we need to move the conversation to what can the Media Foundation do with journalists to solve the issues that we are confronted with all the time.
Okay, Mr. Brahma, let me just ask you, what do you say to people who say that perhaps journalists are too obnoxious, or journalists don't work with integrity or do the work that they are supposed to do, or perhaps even depending on the kind of administration which is in power, they would face even worse punishment, that in a way they deserve to be treated badly?
Well, for me, it is not about what people say, what impressions people have, and what attitudes people have towards journalists. I think what is important is what does our Constitution say when it comes to the work of journalists, when it comes to press freedom. And therefore, we're talking about rule of law. If you are not happy with what a journalist is doing, and you think that the journalist has violated any law, what you do is to really resort to the due process of law, rather than attacking or assaulting the journalist. And indeed, when that happens, what it also means is that such a person has also violated the law, and we have the state agencies that are supposed to make sure that our laws work. And we would, under the circumstance, then expect that these state agencies would act and bring such people who commit such crimes against journalists to book, rather than, having a situation where, because somebody is closer to power, because somebody is, as we say in Ghana, somebody in society, they can commit crimes and go scot-free. Because impunity everywhere or anywhere, is a threat to security and peace anywhere. And so I think that when we're talking impunity, we're talking really about a big thing that deserves the attention of all of us.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Suleiman Ibrahima, for your time this morning. That was the Executive Director for Media Foundation for West Africa. He was talking about the importance of such a day, the International Day Against Impunity against Journalists. I've still been joined by Emmanuel Ante. And Ima, before you take leave of us, I can see you're struggling a little bit. You still have your spine injury. I did overhear a comment from an NDC commentator. He said it just jokingly that if it had been another party in power, you would have been, or rather was, sorry, an NPP, one of the NPP communicators said that if it had been another party in power, you'd have been beaten up worse than this. How does it make you feel when you hear things like that?
It's so sad and so unfortunate. It's so very much unfortunate that a statement could come out, and I know who it came out from, and if you know who said that, it's appalling. It's appalling. How can you even say that? It means you are condoning what somebody did, or something bad that somebody did. It's so disheartening. I don't know what the words to use for it, but it's not a pleasant thing to hear that in your ears. I mean, if you have been through what I've been through, you will not open your mouth to say such a thing. Yeah. It's so unfortunate. Okay. So unfortunate. Very,
very unfortunate. Thank you, Emmanuel, for joining us this morning, sharing your experiences with us. It could not have been easy. Well, you're still watching Joy News Interactive. A couple of your messages before we take a quick break. Here is one saying journalists should be protected because all the stories covered are told by them, both far and near at the right. That's from Elijah in Kusek. Mohammed Briscoe from Upper East Boku says, in fact, Ghanaian journalists should be respected and protected by all means. And here is one on, if they should always be honest and tell the truth, that means they're going to have a lot of enemies. So I think there is a need to give them special protection. That's after they've unfolded a story which might cost their precious lives. You're still watching Joy News Interactive, and we've been talking about whether journalists need special protection or not. Now, when we come back from the break, Kevin Prince Boateng, the bad boy of football as some call him, is back. And he would not mind a call-up to the Black Stars in the run-up to the World Cup 2018. What do you think about that? Let us know on WhatsApp and Facebook.